many times you have to say no, and you have to have a plan of what you're striving for. For example, when we decided to pay off our first home, we intentionally sat down and came up with a budget that on how we were going to pay it off in 5 years, and that involved our mortgage more than doubling for us to pay it off in 5 years. And so we decided to live our debt-free lifestyle before we even had our daughter, and our daughter's 22. And we paid off our first home when she was maybe 2. Let me see. She was 2 years old. She was about 2 years old when we paid off our first home. So since then, we have amazingly been able to live debt-free for most of our married life. For example, us paying off our first home, and then our second home that we got, we put half on it, and if it wasn't a home, just like a car, either paying cash for the car, saving up for it, even for school, being able to pay that. So it's just really been intentional in making the decision as a team. If you're in a relationship, engaged, if dating, talk about, what are your beliefs about money? What's your vision, your financial vision for the future? And really sit down and be clear. Because that's one thing that Char and I did when we were dating. I told him if I had a child, I wanted to stay home. And he knew that in order for me to stay home, then there were some things that he had to do, and he decided, well, I need to have an education, I need to be able to make more money. And then it was, okay, now how are we going to pay for that? So we intentionally came up with milestones that had to do with our financial vision and how we were going to achieve them, with timelines on how we were going to do it. And we didn't make a lot of money, but we lived on less than we made, and we had side hustles going inside and outside our house. We'll talk about that at a later time.
So also, don't forget, when you're dating, you need to start thinking about money, not just your money. But wait a minute, marriage comes after dating, right? Isn't that what
That's
usually happens?
That's the whole intention. So, right.
Why do you date? Because you want to get married, unless you're just a player and all you want to do is date. But anyways, I'm not talking about that in that series. We might have another series to talk about players. But before you get married, it's important to talk openly and honestly to your spouse or potential significant other one about your beliefs, values, and how you respect money, or maybe your disrespect of money. Let's just be honest. Oh, I just have to get some coffee this morning, or I just have to get that lunch, or I just have to go out to see that movie, or I just have to have that dress, or that pair of shoes, or that suit, or whatever it is. I just have to have it. That new gadget, oh, I've just got to get that. That new iPhone, I've just got to get that. That new computer, oh, I can't wait to get that. Is that like respecting money, or is that like disrespecting your money that you spend your hard work and effort, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day to get, and toil and sweat? Well, are you respecting your money if you just turn around and spend it real fast? Is that respecting money? So it's kind of disrespectful of money, when you turn around and just spend it on something like that really quick without even thinking about, or even thinking about what the consequence might be. Can you pay all your bills if you do have that pleasure? And there's nothing wrong with having pleasure. We're not saying you can't have pleasure, because we like to have pleasure. We just talked about having vacations 2 and 3 times a year. So that's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm talking about is how, disrespecting money can lead you down a path you might not want to go, because you get these habits, right? These spending habits. And those spending habits play a big role in regarding money, and don't forget, dating, relationships, who you marry, because, birds of a feather flock together, opposites attract, that's true and all, but if you get with a spouse or somebody that they like to spend, well, guess what? Then you like to spend too. If you join your banking and checking accounts, I know there's people out there that we might want to talk about that in another series, about joining your bank accounts together. I know a lot of people have a lot of very, very strong feelings about that, and you want to keep that independence. You want to keep that checking account or banking account separate. But anyways, we'll talk about that in another series. So that's a whole nother ball of wax there in that one. You got.
But I want to say something.
Go ahead.
When Charles, he, like I said, he asked me to marry him after knowing me for 2 days, on the third day.
You got to be aggressive these days, guys. Go get them now if you want them. Go get them. Go get them now.
But anyway, this is crazy because first of all, we'll tell you at a future time how we met and the whole thing. But so he asked me to marry him. He came to my house. It was Easter. I met him on Good Friday. He proposed Easter evening after church, and he told me he loved me and everything like that. But the crazy thing is, we both agreed at that day, if you can imagine this, on the third day of knowing each other, that we were going to get married. I knew he was supposed to be my husband, but I didn't tell him I loved him. But we actually decided that day to open a joint checking account because we knew we were going to get married, which is crazy because I would never, ever do that with anybody and never even would have thought about doing that.
It goes back to doing the opposite of the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we kind of knew that we were going to be together, so we could say, let's just go ahead and start putting things in motion, things that matter the most.
Mm-hmm.
And your checking account's pretty important these days.
Yeah. So we actually opened up a checking account together, a combined one. And I guess we must have started putting, I don't remember, it was so long ago, but obviously we must have started putting money in it together. We rented for 8 months. And then...
And we also talked about not spending even a penny until we talked about how that penny was going to be used. That's kind of like,
right.
You know, you don't have to be like us because we
Yeah.
kind of, sometimes we go overboard on stuff. But I mean, we kind of pretty much said, look, how much are we spending? We talk about it and then we have to kind of agree on that and then we execute that plan to spend.
Right.
But I mean, not everybody had the opportunity and luxury to talk to one another in those ways.
Mm-hmm.
We were very blessed to be able to have that type of relationship where we would argue about and fight about a lot of things. But one thing we don't really argue and fight a lot about is money.
Right.
It just hadn't been one of those things. Now, knock on wood, right? Because I don't want to start doing anything after this video. What did you say about money? I don't have anything, a fight going on like we had in that first video. But anyways, you need to go back and watch that other video. Hey, did we cover everything that we want to talk about, though? I think we should probably move on.
Yeah, okay.
Ask them a couple questions.
So let me ask you 2 questions about debt. What would your life and relationship look like if you didn't have debt or you didn't have a mortgage? Can you envision what your life would actually look like? How would you actually feel? The freedom that you would feel, the shackles that would be off of you, the monkey that would be off of your back?
Or a gorilla. Those monkeys are lightweight. Those gorillas, they weigh you down, son.
Anyway, and so I want you to think about that. What would your life look like in your relationship? Because think about the money issues and what that actually does to your relationship. Because when you have money issues, it can discolor how you feel about that person. It can make you feel a certain way. It can bring bitterness or different feelings and emotions. So if you didn't have a mortgage, if you didn't have debt, how would that change you? How would it change your relationship?
That's the first question.
That's the first question.
Put it in the comments below because we want to get these answers from you. Don't just go, oh, that's a nice question. Don't write us back. We want to know what you think.
Right. And then the second one, how would being debt-free impact your mental, emotional, spiritual, and relationship health?
So if you need to pause the video to answer the questions, push pause now.
And ask your spouse, one thing that's really important that we have always felt is being completely transparent and honest. And I know a lot of times money is really hard for couples to talk about. And so this might be an opportunity for you to show this to your spouse or significant other and have some type of dialogue, because I know, especially as a previous personal finance coach, how hard it was for couples to talk about money when they were alone. But then when I came in the picture and asked really intentional questions, then it opened up dialogue and secrets that they hadn't told each other. So these two questions, I think, are two questions that you can bring to your significant other, your spouse, your partner, whatever, and just hopefully it would open up some dialogue. And you can take it a little bit further too, as far as talking about money, and sit and talk about what your financial vision is for the future. It doesn't mean that everything turns out as you plan, but if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. So that's really good to talk about. What are your plans as far as, do you want to live in an apartment? Do you want to purchase a home? Do you want to go to school? How many children you want? Do you want the person to stay home so the child doesn't go into daycare? Those are really important things to talk about when you're dating. So then it's no surprise if you decide to get married. And then if you talk about it when you're dating, then you can start coming up with a plan and a strategy, because being married and being in a relationship is kind of like a business arrangement. You kind of have a business plan and you kind of walk out those steps. Isn't that kind of true?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
When you're investing in each other, right? It's an investment. Mm-hmm. When you put these rings on, it's an investment.
Exactly.
Char is investing her life in me. Mm-hmm. I'm investing my life in Char. It's an equal opportunity investment. Mm-hmm. Equal investment opportunity.
Yeah.
So, did you want to add to that, or do
Nope.
you? Pretty much, we just wanted to remind you that the questions that we had, if you want to go back and listen to them, go ahead and do that. Rewind the tape, rewind this video, and listen to them. And then do me a favor, in the comments below, put your answers to them, because we want to see what you think about living debt-free. All right? The debt-free lifestyle, again, it's an intentional decision. It's just not a good idea. It's something you got to intentionally, and with all your discipline and all your strength, you got
self-control.
And if you fall down, you mess up, you just get right back up. You just wipe yourself off. You get right back up. You just try it again.
That's exactly.
You don't beat yourself up about it. You just get up and try it again. Mm-hmm. Please click below and subscribe. And also, don't forget to be clicking on that bell to be notified about future Love Reconciled videos. We want to hear back from you, right? So please leave your comments below. And thank you so much for watching. You could have done anything, but you watched the whole video, so congratulations, you did it. You sat through our first debt-free training, and it was free. Free is a pretty good thing nowadays. So remember, love God more than anything.
And then you'll do right by everything.
We love you. See you next Thursday.
Bye.